Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on December 4th, 2021 at approximately 4:04 p.m. PST. Things are definitively shifting gears at this point. I'm sure you've seen it. At least I'm certainly hoping you've seen it. For the longest time, people have been absolutely focusing on the negative side of things. They've been passing along, and when I say people, by the way, I don't mean just the government or just the elites or just the religious. I mean people just like you, okay, and have been passing on just the negative. Now, I used to believe that it was the media, like you did, undoubtedly. I used to believe it was the media, it was the powers that be, if you will, that were spreading the negativity. But here's the thing. I got looking at it, and that used to be the case until Facebook came out. And that's when I found out that in spite of the fact that I'm a firm believer that 95% of the population of this planet are decent people, okay, I found that the massive majority of stuff on Facebook that was being posted and reposted and tweeted and retweeted and use all the other terms you'd like, the majority of it was negative. Who's stealing from who? What conspiracy is running on? How can we embarrass the next person? It's not my fault. I didn't do it. Somebody else is to blame for the way my life has gone. This was the norm. Now, when you take a look at that, and this is why I said is things are definitively changing. I've noticed recently, okay, in the last couple of months here, that saying that people are starting to post, look at what what happened, how these people are helping these people, how these laws that are being passed, it's not that they're wrong. Well, it is, but it's more to the point people are starting to question the veracity behind them. And there is no question, no functional question. When a law is made, if it does not apply to everyone, okay, if it does not apply circumstantially to everybody, regardless of their age, gender, their political alignment, their finance, doesn't matter. If it does not apply to everybody in that same, seriously, age group, no matter, then this sounds really bad, okay, but if it doesn't apply to them all, your society will separate. It will develop into two cultures. Now, I hear a staggering number of people still talking about the fact that the people are on the streets are there by choice. The sad reality of it is there is a lot of choice that goes on. But until you understand what drove those individuals there, understand you don't know their life. I don't have to understand it. Okay. And yes, many people, when you ask them what happened, will certainly point the finger and say it was somebody else's fault. Okay. Now, the reality is everybody has a choice. And the thing that I've seen that's changing is people are they're starting to look at the choices they have and which ones they're willing to work with. There are lines being reached, and society is shifting gears. As was shown a while ago to me, it starts off with all these rules coming in, and one person standing up and going, "This doesn't work for me," and standing their ground on it. If what isn't working for them is a just thing, if it applies to a lot of people, there will be other people that stand up and say, "Hey, wait a minute, this is wrong." And the next thing you know, you get a small cluster of people, and then little satellite clusters, and all of a sudden you've got an entire societal change. This is what is happening right now, and you are the ones responsible for making it happen. Give yourself a pat on the back for that one. Okay, as I mentioned a long time ago, I have not seen this much greed and debauchery since Sodom and Gomorrah. Now, if you know the terms, then you'll know where I'm coming from. If you don't, or if you want to chalk it up to history all being made up and being fabricated and what have you, that's your choice as well. The thing is, I returned to this world for one primary purpose: to remind people, everyone in existence, every entity in existence, that working together, we can make this a better world. Just like a school of fish or just like a herd of sheep. And this is why people have coined the phrase sheeple. You get one person that starts doing something and a whole pile of people follow. Okay. Now, I know this happens. I've tested it myself. Test it yourself. Okay, that people will follow. And just like with sheep, you get the lead one to turn and the whole herd will turn. Okay. And what I did this one day, just a minor little sidetrack here. I was at a major fair, okay, locally here. And I walked out in the middle of the field, and there were over 20,000 people at this fair. So it may not have been that big for you, but 20,000 people is still a staggering amount of people, really. I just was walking along, and I just, for whatever reason, I don't even remember entirely what triggered it. But I stopped and I started looking at the sky. Now, take my word for this one, there was nothing up there other than standard clouds, standard birds. And I just stopped and I stood there and I looked at the sky. In all fairness, I was looking at the clouds. They were making some interesting shapes. But I stood there and something dawned on me while I was watching the clouds. So I stood there watching. Next thing I knew, I have this guy coming up to me. And he says, "What are you looking at?" And I'm looking up, I'm still looking at the sky. And I went, well, I started looking at the clouds and I figured, what the heck, I'll stand here and wait. So I was waiting to see how many people, holy mackerel. And there were I kid you not, there had to be 100 people in this field that were all staring at the sky. They were all pointing at something, and like I said, there was nothing up there. I looked at the guy and I says, I was waiting to see how many people would start looking at the sky if I just looked at the sky. He says, have you seen anything? I says, whole pile of people looking at the sky. But this is what I mean by doing one thing, even something odd. Okay, people will follow. Okay, they don't tend to think things through, but this is a good thing in this case. Because what's happening now is people are starting, after a lot of encouragement, they're starting to go, wait a minute, society has to take on a different tack. The way it's going is not working for the majority of us. Okay, and I know you can relate to it. There's all kinds of things I can point out, but the problem is, the real key to turning things is looking right at you every morning that you look in the mirror. Now, of course, I got away from that because I quit looking in the mirror first thing in the morning. But people are starting to realize that we have to start shifting things. If we desire this world to get back on track, to bring peace, and by the way, war has never brought peace. It's brought quiet, but it's never brought peace. Okay, now I've always been a very staunch supporter of the military, of people that choose to join the military in order to defend their families, to defend their country. I absolutely support it. I severely question a lot of the motivation between the higher ups and the orders they give. But the people that are joining the military, 99% of them are doing it for the right reason. And yes, there are some people that are a little bit off kilter that join the military because of off kilter reasons. But that applies to every walk of life and every career. But what I'm seeing happen now, and I'm very happy about it, is that people are starting to realize that we have to shift the direction that society is going in. It's absolutely imperative. Okay, but thankfully it is happening. And here's where things get really interesting, okay? Whether you believe in Santa Claus, whether you believe in Christmas, whether you believe in whatever, doesn't really matter to me. Okay, I mean, both Christmas and Santa Claus matter to me, but whether you believe it or not is not the point. Take a look at the world at large. Something happens as Christmas gets closer. Aside from in the malls, in shopping centers and what have you, people out there tend to, on the whole, regardless of their walk of life, tend to try and be a little nicer to people. Okay, they really do. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. Watch the people around you. and see how many of them are actually making that effort. Okay. This is starting to happen. Now, something I like what I heard, what I read just the other day. You know, the show was talking about, and what was it now? Oh, of course, I was watching a classic with my son called How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and had a beautiful message in it. Because they were talking about, obviously, if you've ever watched the show, they were talking about the gifts that all been stolen and Christmas was gone. I'm telling you, Christmas is not about the gifts. It's not about the money. It's not even about the decorations. It's about that feeling right here. That's what it's about. One of the best gifts I ever, and one of the most poignant gifts I ever received was a number of years ago. I was in real tight straits where it came to money. Very, very tight straits. And my brother, what he did was he went to the grocery store, bought a whole bunch of groceries, wrapped each of the individual packages up, put them inside another box, and wrapped that whole box up. And that was my Christmas gift. I'll tell you, it was enough food for me to last a month. My stress around the fact I didn't have any food in the house was gone. And I will tell you this, it may sound kind of, shall we say, off kilter, it's not flashy, it doesn't have electronic beeps to it. But I'm telling you, if you're having trouble deciding on what to get somebody that's close to you, just a thought. But pick a food they like. If you want to be really nice, pick a food they like, but don't tend to buy. Okay, because especially people that are tight on funds in the first place, that food can make all the difference in the world. Okay, from my standpoint, that is one of these gifts that it's not flashy, it's not electronic, but it has an impact and it hits where it really matters the most, in all fairness, to most people that are in tight finances. Okay, it's a lousy thing to wake up in the morning going, I don't know how I'm going to feed my kid. I mean, it's bad enough going, I don't know where my meal's coming from. But if you've got kids, it's worse when you don't know where their meal's coming from. So if you're having trouble deciding on a gift for somebody that you know is tight, or that you can't figure out what to buy, okay, here's two gifts for you. If you want to go the practical route, okay, I go with the idea, I've come to the understanding that going with foodstuffs, no, it's not flashy, but I'll tell you, it sure hits home when you're hungry. Because you can't chew, or, you can't eat a video game. And if you don't have the money to pay the bills, you're not going to be able to play the video game anyway. Food is not flashy, but it is something that they require. The other thing, if you want to go something a little less practical, and I've done it to adults, I've done it to seniors. Didn't know what to buy them, but didn't desire to give them money. So I turned around and bought a stuffed animal. Okay, just a simple stuffed animal. I'll tell you, there's nothing like seeing a senior citizen that's been getting, even if they've received things over the years, and they get this little stuffed animal that really has no practical functional use, except it brings back childhood memories. Okay, and most people that have childhood memories surrounding stuffies they have positive memories. Okay, for pity's sakes, make sure you know what you're up to. There is the occasional time when somebody will have a negative memory around it. But people are now starting to pay much closer attention to the good things that are happening, and this is absolutely fantastic. I'll tell you, it makes it a whole lot easier to get up in the morning. Being empathic, it's very, because of the fact I feel both what people are going through and what the animals, plants, and the planet itself are going through. Okay, seeing people starting to work together, starting to help each other out, starting to smile a little more. And yeah, I realize there's still this thing with the mask on. Okay, but when somebody smiles, you can still see it in their eyes. You can still feel it coming off of them. Now, I've been accused of a lot of things. None of them illegal, thankfully. But I've been accused of things like, oh, you're trying to start a cult by telling people to be nice to each other. Absolutely. If you want to call that a cult, get in line, join up. I am absolutely asking you to give me a hand with this, to spread this one simple message. Simply hit the subscribe button, okay, and spread this and then share it with all your friends and all your enemies for that matter. Okay, the message is simple. Working together, we can make this a better world for most people. Okay, there will always be exceptions. Okay, you cannot look at any one race or any one gender or any one nationality and go, they're all like this. Okay, all of them have differences. There are always creative people, even in the most violent species. There are creative people that have no interest in the violence. Okay, it's up to us as individuals and as a collective unit to pass this message on to everybody that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. And I'm really happy to say I'm seeing it more and more. Okay. And I'll tell you, for me, that is encouraging. On March 6th of 2021, I started recording the journey, passing on this message, and it started off with just going, these are the tools. These are what I use. These are the philosophies I live by. And I know they work because I use them. Okay, there's many spiritual guides out there that will tell you you have to do this, and they're not doing it. Even if you take a look at the people in the practical world, many financial advisors will tell you, you got to cut back here, you got to cut back there, you got to contain everything so you can survive. And yet they're spending more money than they have. Okay, I love it when the government comes out and says, and I don't care what country, government comes out and says, in order to run a country, the financial advisors tell you, in order to run your business, your home, you got to have a balanced budget. And the government turns around and goes, yeah, absolutely balance your budget, keep an eye on it. But I kid you not, I find it fascinating that so many governments don't even come close to running a balanced budget. So few of them. So few doctors actually, you take a look at it. Mechanics will tell you, you got to do this to keep your car running. And yet the mechanics on the whole are notorious for their vehicles not running as well as what they tell other people they should be. In my case, my life is not perfect by any functional stretch, but I'm embarking on an interesting new path from my standpoint. I did it a few years ago. Okay, now I've never had a lot of money. I really haven't. And well, I shouldn't say never. This lifetime, I've never had a lot of money. I had a massive windfall coming in. It didn't do a thing for me. Aside from got me out of debt, and then I turned around and pulled the same stupid moves all over again. However, I have learned. But I digress. A few years ago, I had a little bit extra cash. And it wasn't much. But what I did was I took $20 and $20 cash, stuck it in 5 Christmas card envelopes. Christmas is a wonderful time. It's nice to help everybody all the time, but it's not doable. Okay, I don't know about you, but I can't spend all of my money helping other people. Well, I guess technically I could, but I'm pretty quick to be in more serious trouble than I am. But all I did was took a $20 bill and put 120 in 5 different Christmas cards. And I went through them all and picked 5 people. There were 5 total strangers. And I just looked at them. Okay. And I'm going through them all so you can see what kind of an array I had. Okay. I turned around and picked 5 people that I watched that seemed to be having a little bit of trouble. Or seemed to be doing a really good job. It really did vary on the time. And I handed each one of them a Christmas card. Okay, sealed in an envelope. Okay, and the only thing I put on it was I put a sticker on it with my company name. Okay. And inside, I put the $20 and I said, Merry Christmas from Inner Voice Enterprises. And I'll tell you, that $20 wasn't much. I mean, $20 is not a whole lot. It won't buy you a full meal out for two people. Okay. But the look on some of their faces, because what I did was I'd hand the card off and I'd leave. I'd carry on. But, it was fascinating to watch these people. They'd take an envelope. It's a Christmas card. Where's the harm? They open it up and here's a $20 bill in it. And I'll tell you, the energy that came off of them, the happiness that that simple little gift gave was phenomenal. Now, as I mentioned before, okay, it was coined really nicely in the churches, this concept of tithing. And I do absolutely agree with it. However, that said, there is not a prayer I will give money to a church, nor will I give money to a registered charity. Because the overhead means on the best of those, what I've seen them do is put 30%, in other words, 30 cents on the dollar, less than half of the money on the best of them went to the actual charity of their claiming. Okay, now legally they're doing everything's fine. However, I looked at it and went, I can do that and give 30 cents out of that dollar to somebody, and then this nonprofit charity or church takes the other 70 cents on the dollar. Well, I don't know about you, but from my standpoint, that doesn't work. Okay, so what I'm setting up for is very simple. I take a look at that 10%. I look at what I have to run my home, constantly upgrading what I require in order to build up my savings and my own lines on that end. Okay, but once you have that level, you make sure you've got what you require to run your house, covering everything. As was pointed out to me the other day, we're talking your rent or mortgage, take your pick, utilities, your food, your insurance, medical and auto, your transportation, your education, and, your entertainment and some savings for down the road. Because like it or not, you're going to get older. It's up to you whether you get old. Okay, so I am upping every month, if possible. I up what I'm aiming for and bring that up. But when I have that list there, because you have to take care of you effectively before you're really in any functional position to take care of others. After that, I will be taking 10% of whatever comes above that and putting it aside to help other people. Now, those other people are simple. I walk into, on a Christmas, Christmas is the easiest time because nobody questions why you're giving them a card. And that's the whole reason I target it. Okay. But I'll be putting the money aside and I will build up whatever I can. And then that amount of money will be put aside for what I call random charity. Okay. Now I haven't decided how many cards I'm going to separate it into. I'm thinking the best number is to split it in 12. There is a numerological reason for that. Because with the numerology I work with, 12 is the number of ultimate wisdom. That is the ultimate level. And come to think of it, that's where I'll go. I'll put the money aside, and however much money I get and I pull together, I'll split it in 12, put it in 12 envelopes, and hand it out to people at random. Okay, it may be in a mall, I may be going down the street and going, here, Merry Christmas, and carry on. And the only thing I put in the card is Merry Christmas, from Inner Voice Enterprises and the money. That's it. Okay. But I'm not interested in, it's not a question of doing this for accolades for anybody. It's not for a sales pitch. So I absolutely refuse to put advertising in the envelope. Yes, I will certainly, and because I'm putting the name in it, if you want to call that advertising because I put this in the tag with my mailbox on it, absolutely, I will be putting that on it. Okay, but business cards, any pamphlet saying this is what I'm trying to do with my business, that's not what this is about. This is about going, here's a Merry Christmas from this person you don't know. That's it. And here's a cash hand up. Now, I'm going that route. Okay. Now, whether you go that route or not, that's just one suggestion. This is a tool I'm using. For the people that I know, okay, I will undoubtedly be turning the route of going towards the foodstuffs, as I mentioned earlier. Okay, and this is what I mean by working together. We can make this a better world for virtually everybody. But I am asking you to join me on this journey, to actually follow me while I'm doing this, and start doing this as well. Picture what happens. There is so much money that gets wasted, and I do mean wasted. Okay, for me now, I don't do alcohol. I don't drink alcohol to any real extent. I don't do drugs of any form unless you want to call caffeine. But for me, it doesn't take much to take $2 and put it aside and just avoid one drink of coffee. Okay, doesn't take long at all. So I am encouraging you to do this. This is a tool I personally use. Okay, and with this in mind, okay, it is time, and I'm happy to say it is starting to shift. Things are changing gears very nicely. So from your standpoint, very important that we take a turn, take a look at the world the way it is, and start working together to make this a better world for virtually everyone. It's absolutely it's absolutely imperative. Now, it won't work for everybody, but working together, we can make this happen. Now, the important factor from your standpoint is whatever you're doing, whatever brought you to the world we're in at this point, okay, it's absolutely imperative that you realize that we're all in the same boat. We're all right here, right now, and this is the only time that we can change the world, right now. Okay, and it's going to require everybody. So yes, I'm absolutely asking for your assistance to help do this. Now, with that in mind, we're getting down to the end of the run here. Okay, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.